Good afternoon, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to Quickbooks Labs. Quickbooks Labs is a monthly podcast designed to be the place to learn all about the world of QuickBooks and other accounting software. On the first Wednesday of each month, we hang around these microphones to talk about all the latest news, tips, and tricks for QuickBooks Online. But as you can guess, today isn't a Wednesday and isn't the first Wednesday of the month. So why are we here? Because we've got an extra special version for you. QuickBooks Connect is officially wrapped for another year, and we've got some great things to talk about. So let's pass it straight on. Oh, actually, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Aaron Patrick. I'm one of your hosts, a chartered accountant and an owner of an accounting firm called Boffix, a QuickBooks trainer, and the QuickBooks chat on YouTube. And join with me, as always, is one of my co-hosts, the one and only Ash. How's it going, Ash?
Fantastic, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, so me, Ash Beetson, bookkeeper / accountant / app developer / author, co-founder of NetTracker, amongst other things. So, yeah, lots of stuff to talk about. And we're joined today by Johan. So over to you, Johan, for your quick intro.
Thank you very much, Ash. My name's Johan. I am the Group Managing Director of the On Point Accounting Group. Anyone that was on the sessions at the conference today will have heard and seen me. As from Nick, thank you very much, Nick. But yeah, looking forward to chatting through what we heard over the last 2 days and what's going to be going up in the future. Over to you, Aaron.
Brilliant. Yeah, so I'm really glad to have you here, John. And you stole my thunder as well, because I was about to congratulate you on being shouted out on the actual course as well. And Ash as well, congratulations to you for actually for being one of the speakers as well. So we've all been involved this year, which is good to see. And I think actually, to be fair, all the speakers that are involved were absolutely smashing it. So first of all, just get the kind of quote unquote boring bits out of the way first. Let's just make sure we're all aware of how this works. So if you do have any questions, you want to ask any questions, please use the comments part and we will make sure we get round to them. And don't forget, we are on podcasting services around the world. And our normal regular time of 4:30 to 10:30 or 4:30 a.m. or 10:30 US Central Time. But if you are had any chance, please do come join us live next time round. And we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all of those wonderful platforms. So, Ash, what's the agenda for today's show?
So we'll talk a little bit about the QuickBooks Connect conference that's just happened in the UK yesterday and today. Talk a little bit about what was announced. Perhaps chat a little about what they might not have said that we were expecting, perhaps. There's some other updates that we can just mention that have happened in product, and then we might have a little bit of other news that we can chat about as well. Fantastic. Mainly you talking, Aaron, and me and Johan just chipping in there and then.
No, I think we've all got some points to bring out on this one, haven't we? I think there's going to be some tasty little elements that we want to talk about. So let's kind of give a set scene of exactly what was announced. The best thing to kind of bring up was what happened in today's, I think, more than anything else. I think that's got most of the talking points to it. We had an opportunity or a reaffirmation, if you like, of the fact that a lot of what QuickBooks was announcing was to do with kind of rekindling that partnership with us accountants, which was great to hear. And part of that, they released a MTD guide, so a Making Tax Digital guide, which is available to accountants and users as well. But also, and interestingly, it also gave us an opportunity to have a customizable version that we can send out. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a great, nice little addition, a nice little feature that went there. And then they went on to product enhancements. And this is what, obviously, we're all excited about. And this is where it gets exciting for us to talk about. So let's go with the first main and the big enhancement that they talked about. I think the main topic of the show, I suppose. And that is the release and the talk about books to tax. So the idea of this is to take QuickBooks that one step further, give us the opportunity not only to do our compliance relating to VAT returns and payroll and CIS, but also start looking at those other elements as well, which is submitting accounts and CT600s that go with it. Now, when they released this feature and they spoke about this feature, couple of key things to note at the moment. They're kind of doing almost like a soft launch. They're planning on just making sure that they can release just micro entity accounts at the beginning. And I assume from a CT600 point of view, it'll just be a very basic CT600 at that very beginning as well. And at the moment, this will only be for accountants to file. I think already, if you kind of look at the kind of what people are talking about and how people are thinking, there's definitely a mixed review of what's happened. But before we go and actually show on screen and kind of show you bits of it that we can, Ash, what's your opinions on this one?
Yeah, I think we were expecting this, and I've always got a bit of a mixed feeling over this, and I guess it's, if you are a QuickBooks only practice and you only do QuickBooks, probably going to be fine, because you've got it all there. But when it comes to actually, you've got some clients on, you might have some on Xero, you might have some on Sage, you might have some just through using a spreadsheet, then you're going to have to be probably dipping in and out of different accounting software production tools, different tax production tools. So I think it will depend maybe on the size of the firm, how they decide to adapt it, and and their clients, and also because I think about this as the software developer as well, and I feel for all of those software developers that have probably spent years creating integrations, connect QuickBooks, you can do your accounts and tax through there, and then all of a sudden this is like, you've got a tap that's turned on, and you could be turning a tap off to those developers. I don't know. That's just my little take on it. I don't know how you've. Well, I'll leave it up to you. You and Johan, and you're more in practice than myself now. So
yeah, definitely. I think you're right though. I think you've got to get that kind of middle ground, haven't you, between having these fantastic new features and also, like you said, not upsetting those developers and everything else. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But Johan, I mean, I imagine I'm maybe talking out of turn here, but I imagine you're pretty excited for this update, are you not?
Yeah, I mean, we've been using working papers since it came out last year as our workflow. So what we've done, which combats Ash's concern in a way, is our clients can use Free Agent, Xero. They can't use Sage. We just have a rule. But they can use Free Agent. They can use Excel. They can use Xero, Free Agent, whatever. And we take the trial balances out of there and we put them into QuickBooks working papers. So every client, whether they know it or not, has got a QuickBooks license. So we import the trial balance out of Xero, for example. We put into QuickBooks as license, and we process it through the working papers. So we've got one continuous working workflow that we're doing the same with every client. We're using the same tool. Then at the moment, that jets off from there into TaxFiler. And we don't really do any work in TaxFiler because we've done the work in working papers. So it's really just a population of the information and sending off accounts and tax returns. Now, the way we see this, once it's up to speed and it's competent of doing everything, so like I think I saw it's going to do a CT600, CT600A to start with. We do quite a bit of R&D, so we're going to need that CT600L form. But eventually our vision would be, regardless of what software anyone's using, the trial balance goes into QuickBooks as license, through working papers as our workflow, and our standard operating procedure will be workflow in QuickBooks, into some accounts in QuickBooks, into a CT600 in QuickBooks, and filed. So I've got some very excited accountants in my team who were very jumpy and ecstatic when they saw this morning, because they could see the long-term vision and the goal kind of being achieved of having this one-stop working place. So yeah, we're really pleased with it.
Yeah, and you can see those advantages that come through, can't you? You can see, long-term wise, if you kind of look about what this could start for you is, what's to stop us actually putting estimated taxes in and going down that route and all that sort of stuff. That's where we're hoping it goes to, isn't it? And that's where, this integration of being able to do the account and the bookkeeping and everything all under one roof, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Of having that opportunity to bring all that information in and to have that. And the only way we're going to achieve that is by it all being there and it's all there. I'm definitely excited about it, and from a practice point of view, we'll take it, we'll understand it, and we'll have a look at what it's offering, and then see if it's worthwhile kind of bringing it in. But it is worthwhile kind of seeing what it is and how it looks. So, not the best screen I've got here to kind of show you, but hopefully you can see on screen exactly what was kind of shown during the thing. So we've got here. You can see, first of all, this is in the QuickBooks Accountant area, and it's really important we see that bit at this moment. It definitely is a QuickBooks Accountant only feature. But you can see here that we're having the opportunity to populate our corporation tax return. As we go forward, they even mention how you can then make it into the much more useful format of showing it as a PDF document. So we can see exactly what it is that they're about to file, bringing that information in. And having the opportunity to add forms and letters and stuff. So we kind of got an opportunity to see that in the Canadian product of how that works. And it does definitely give us the opportunity to see that, pre-populating data, bringing that information in, what your tax bill is going to be, all that sort of stuff, to generate kind of your forward paper to kind of build a pack before it gets sent over. That's really exciting, isn't it? They've even got this option here for the auditor option, so it's kind of giving you that chance to have a bit more collaboration, maybe with a team member. Let a junior team member draft it first, then you can go in and kind of do the review points and things like that. That's the stuff that I think is really, really exciting. So yeah, Ash, what do you think by kind of how it looks and feels there? I know we've not got much to work on, but what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's great and could be a fantastic time saver. I suppose we just need to sort of see it fully in action, as to how slick and everything it should be. I mean, it should be pretty slick. I mean, you've got everything directly there in one place, so it's not like you are having to bolt on integration. You've got all the data already there, so yeah, it looks pretty good.
And Johan, compared to TaxFiler, TaxFiler is quite a straightforward and simple product, isn't it? It's not got many bells and whistles. But what do you think compared to that? Is that kind of what aesthetically what you're expecting, or?
I think it looks good. I think what the bit I'm really excited for them to bring to this is the smart checker. What we've already seen in VAT, what they announced today is going to be coming to MTD. It says that smart checking tool. And if you want to train a junior team member to get into understanding filing accounts and tax returns, and they've got the confidence of using a smart checking tool like we've seen at VAT, it's a really good training aid. And it also helps sometimes when you get a bit complacent. Like, I've been doing CT 600s for so many years, blah, 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 and then it pulls up a really basic mistake. It's like, oops. It just helps make sure it's as good a quality as possible, really. So I think that's going to be an exciting feature to be brought into this. It looks good to me. My understanding is it's for accountants only, and that's the way they intend it to stay. I think it's one less window I need to have open on my web browser, put it that way.
Yeah, completely. But do you speaking of the point of it's accountants only at this point in time and maybe staying there forever, is that the right or wrong way of doing it though? What's your guys' thought on that one? Ash?
Well, I think if you can I be blunt? If you don't want to piss accountants off, then I would not give it to the rest of the world to use, because if you're into, especially partnering with accounting firms, so you're getting all these great tools. But if they personally, and I wouldn't really call myself an accountant anymore. I don't really have a practice. But if I was building all this stuff up, and then all of a sudden I realised, actually, my client can actually submit their own corporation tax return if they wanted, I wouldn't be that happy about it. Being completely honest with you, I wouldn't see it as the way forward. That's just my own view.
But where do you draw the line, though? Because they can submit their own VAT returns. they're probably going to be able to submit their own personal tax returns. You know, ultimately, as accountants, we've all probably got that statement in the declaration that says, ultimately, yes, we've prepared this, but it's on the business owner's head if it's wrong. They're signing it off. It's them authorising it. So where do you draw the line? If we're saying it's their responsibility, if they are...
you've got a really good point. You've got a very good point there, Johan. I guess a lot of it will also come down to, you know, what is the cost of this? Because at the moment, you know, it's, you know, it could be sort of given for free, and then after a period of time, your subscriptions might take a bit of a hike. So that's just something else that I probably bear in mind with some of these features.
If it's free and it's competent, along with MTD ITSA, it could be saving firms quite a lot of money. I mean, what do I spend? I spend 160 quid a month on tax filer. If I was on tax calc, I'd probably be closer to £1,000 a month.
Yeah, easily.
Like, that's a huge financial saving for us, plus the time efficiency of having it all in one place. So yeah, I mean, if I'm using it, I personally wouldn't mind paying a small amount a month to have this feature turned on for me. And like the payroll feature, I suppose, like if you're not using it, you don't pay for it. So yeah, it could certainly help cash flow in small practices, especially when they're starting up.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, I keep harping back to, you know, the argument about should we allow clients to do it and everything else. And you're absolutely right with what you're saying there, Johan. And same with you, Ash, about not wanting to upset the client. I can kind of see it from both points. But, you know, we've got to kind of accept that for a lot of clients out there now, they just want to file it themselves. Like we're kind of going through this stage where people are using YouTube and other ways to train themselves so that they can just, you know, get their bits done and get everything going through. And I think we've just got to accept that clients are going to just, or especially a lot of clients that are coming through now are just going to want to get them done. And, you know, they'll come back to us if there's an issue. They'll come back to us if a problem. And if there is an error or an issue, that's HMRC's job to find that anyway, isn't it? You know, that's not we shouldn't be policing what's being submitted if we haven't prepared it. So I kind of see it from that point of view. The other thing I think as well is long-term wise, we don't know quite what MTD for corporation tax is going to do. So, you know, we assume it's quarterly. We assume it's very similar to it. So that makes sense, doesn't it? Because why make this new regime about self-employed and how that goes and not follow suit with corporation tax? You know, you kind of, for simplicity's sakes, you hope that it's going to be very similar so people can get their heads around it and understand it and kind of get to grips with it. So, you know, when MTD for corporation tax comes out and it, you know, it is what it is, we're going to want our clients to be more involved in kind of submitting it at that point, aren't we? You know, we're going to want to find a simpler way. So yeah, I think they're saying at the moment there's no indication of bringing it there, but part of me really does hope that it does at some point. So excellent. And you know, Charlie's put a great bit about it up here, you know, capital allowances and CT 100 and everything. It's not the same with the VAT returns. You know, I completely get it, but I also think HMRC, especially for our smaller clients and for the small ones, they want us to kind of have that opportunity to make it as simplified as possible. You know, your BPs of the world are never going to be able to file their own, or without some interaction and everything else. But you know, we've got to kind of be prepared for that, I think, going forward. Awesome. Anything else you guys want to talk about the tax to file? I suppose we need to play with it first and properly play with it to kind of see exactly what it can do.
And just going back to what you said, I mean, yeah, I could probably understand in maybe a few years' time if you've got that many clients and they all need to do, you know, make a digital corporation tax return, you know, every quarter. You know, for an accounting firm, that could be a lot to do. But I think, yeah, it would still need to be careful with, because you could get that, you know, that little thing. Well, you know, so many businesses will, if they get used to doing too much themselves, I would say they would think, well, do I really, do I really need my accountant? Well, I can do my tax return, I could do my VAT return, I could do my corporation tax return, I could probably, and actually, the company's house accounts are pretty simple compared to all of that tax stuff. So if I can do that myself, I could probably just do the company accounts myself.
I think you have to.
I know you still need and then hopefully, like we've all been talking about it, since 2014, since I've been involved with QuickBooks, the advisory services. So all your compliance stuff starts going downwards, and your advisory goes up because you're more involved in the planning of a business and the forecasting and helping the client with their bank loans and all that. You'll probably get more money out of that as an accountant than you will filing a return. Anyway, I could talk about this stuff for great. I'm not even an accountant, and I could talk about this stuff for quite a long time. But anyway.
Yeah, no, we get it, and it makes sense. It's just, I think we've just got to find a way to, as accountants, I think we've got to almost let go a little bit of what we're used to. We're used to filing everything, we're used to getting there, and I think we are coming to that stage where there is going to be times where we've just got to let go of that control, if you like, and just be there for our clients for more than just filing tax returns and everything else. So
I think you just take the same stance. If everyone starts releasing this software out to the general public to use, you just take the stance that we take currently with self-assessments. Yes, you can go and do your own self-assessment. Can you guarantee you've done it right and you've done it tax efficiently? Or have you just cost yourself $3-4 grand in lost tax savings? That's the stance we'll just need to take.
Yeah, exactly right. And at the end of the day, you're gonna, the clients who do come to you for help and everything else, they're gonna be more willing to take you on as a client, as an accountant, should say, and they're going to be really appreciative of the work you've done. And those ones who kind of almost feel forced at the moment, they're not going to, they're normally your kind of almost problem clients, aren't they? Because they don't want, in the ideal world, they wouldn't be employing you at the first place. You know what I mean? And it gives us that opportunity to make sure that we are adding value and we are there for the right reasons and everything else. So yes,
the ones that begrudge it are the ones that don't value you, and they become your nightmare clients.
Exactly right.
That helps weed them out
and do it themselves. So it was a very small announcement on it about Books of Tax, and I don't think they're quite ready to kind of show everything yet, but it seems to be in fairly kind of good state what it was, especially with the corporation tax side of things. So it'd be good to see what comes on from next. The next announcement, though, or the one that definitely worthwhile talking about, is the month-end review enhancements. So this was put on again with that same video we were just looking at, and they went through and they were explaining basically how work papers and work papers and books review have had a bit of an update and everything else that goes with it. And a lot of these are now live. So we can actually show you this one, which is quite exciting, and show you how it works. Now, for me, we were already aware of this stuff that was coming because it was coming through from USA, and they announced it at their last QuickBooks Connect and everything else, and it looks really, really, really powerful. I think we spoke about it, didn't we, about what that could mean and how that works and what's next and everything else. But basically so I'm in the books review section to begin with, because we'll talk about that bit first. And now there's an option at the top here to move it down from monthly to cleanup. When you go to cleanup, you get your setup option that we've already kind of looked at. You get the option to go for your opening balances, which is fantastic. But now when you're in transaction review, if you do spot something that needs something happening to it, then when you tick the box, you get your batch action bar coming along the top. And part of that batch action now is ask client. So if I've got an expense here and it says HP loan interest, first time I've ever seen that one, I can press ask client. It pops up a nice little option bar on the right hand side. I can ask the question what I want here. I can even put multiple items if I had multiple items I wanted to do. I can add documents and I can press share. And basically, from a client's point of view, they're going to get that. And we'll have a look in a minute how that looks from a client's point of view. But they will get that notification. They'll get an email. They get a notification on their phone if they've got their app up. And at the moment, it's shown as waiting. But as you can see here, we've already had some interactions. So as a client or as the accountant, shall I say, I can go in and although actually, it's up here, isn't it? View all requests. Look at the requests, and I can see how these are doing, what the questions, what the answers were, and go on from there. So before we kind of look at it from a client's point of view, what do you guys think to this so far? Ash, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Yeah, I mean, yeah, whenever you've got that sort of query on an entry that's going through and you're not quite sure how you need to deal with it as an accountant and you want to ask the client, just being able to do that in that, that area is pretty neat. It's a nice, it's a lovely little time saver. So yeah, it's good. I love it.
Johan?
I think it's beautiful. I mean, I don't have to open an email, send an email, chase the client for that email. Like, it's all in one place. I think, yeah, this is a huge step forward in client communication and collaboration with the client. So.
Yeah. And again, we'll have a look in a minute what it looks like from the client's point of view. My only, and maybe I'm just being daft here and I can't figure it out, but it doesn't tell me what client I'm asking at this point. At the moment, I've just got what the title is, what the due date is, what the details is. It's not telling me what client I'm going to ask. And in this case, I think there's only 2 users anyway. So if I go to account and manage users, have a quick look. I think there's just 2 users and one of them's me. So I know technically they're both me, but yeah, one of them's me. One of them's kind of quote unquote a client in this draft account, in this draft one. But it's not asking me which one of them to send to. So I don't know if you have multiple ones there. Does it send it to all of them or not? We've not been able to.
Or does it just send it to the primary admin?
Well, in this case, it hasn't. That primary admin's not had the request.
Okay.
This person's had the request, and I don't know how it or what it's making the assumption for that's why it's there. So, yeah, that's my only kind of criticism of it, I'd say. And my only other one, and I don't know if this would be worthwhile or not, but is it or would it be possible to ask this while you're in a transaction? I know we're looking at the accountant's review section here in the books review, but is there any way of put it in the more section and asking it from here? That might be a useful feature as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, both your points there, Aaron. On the one, what user should it go to? And why you're actually looking at something, whether it's here, whether it's you're in the middle of doing a bank rec and you click on the transaction, because then you're doing it in real time, aren't you? And not having to wait until the period end.
Yeah, and the only other thing I can't find yet, and maybe I've just not looked deep enough, is how I got the notification that there's a reply here, other than jumping in back to my books review to have a look at it there. So yeah, but so far, absolutely love this. This is absolute music to our ears. The fact that you can tick, as many of these as you need to. Now we get the options to do these as well. We didn't have the option to multiple ad payees and stuff, but we get that as well. But no, we can ask client and we can get that information over to them. And, it becomes like almost a checklist for them. And it's, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Let's just quickly show you what it looked like from a client's point of view, just so people have seen it. But if I jump in and have a look at this one, I think I've done the right one, and share that. Yeah, this looks right. Awesome. All right, so this is me as the client section. As you can see here, we've got customers and leads. That's another point we'll bring up, and it comes up with a marketing page now that goes to nowhere at the moment. So yeah, something's not quite right here. So, but yeah, this is from the client's view. But from a client's point of view, we would jump down, we would go to the My Accountant section, and from there, if I choose the right accountant, so the client would have to choose a different accountant up there. So that might be something you need to train them for. There are multiple accountants, but yeah, up here with all those questions that we've just asked, question about payees or the ones we were on at the point, and you can go in and you can ask questions, you can look at comments, and you can reply back. and you can talk to them. And as the client, you can also upload documents if you need to, bring them in. You can see any documents that may have been uploaded to you. So in this case, they put a document to me. And yeah, this is where I'll go in and look at that checklist, go through, tick them off, and everything else. Now, the only other thing that haven't checked actually is, does this actually update the transaction for you? I assume it does. But yeah, at the moment, there's we would want that HP liability to go to whatever pay has been put there for you. So yeah, what do you think to the client's view of that one?
The thing I wanted to ask then was, do they get an email notification?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I show that one? I might be able to show it on screen.
Yeah, so if they get the notification, and when they click on the notification, does that guide them directly into where they need to go?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see on mine. It's quite a small screen, but can you see on there? It says,
cool.
Yeah. And if you click on the green box, it would take you directly there. I think there's an option for it to come up in the mobile app a little bit as well, but yeah, I've not been able to play around with that.
Yeah, we had a question from Paul at Chariot Accountants. How will it work for clients that don't log into, the browser, and they just use the mobile app? So, well, I don't know. If you can't do it on the mobile app, then you'll have to just ring them up, I suppose, and say, old school. I don't know.
No, it looks
that would
like
be good.
Yeah,
as an advancement on. So if your client's got an email, even if they use the mobile app, they've got an email telling them they need to go into the desktop web version, whatever you want to call it, to do it. But that would be very cool if, as an advancement on this, is you get a notification through your app saying your accountant wants you to look at something. It shows you what they want you to look at. You can answer it in the app and send it back. That would be,
Yeah, and just to clarify, I said that it was a notification to your mobile. It's your phone number, not your mobile. So I misread that. So yeah, it's not the mobile app at the moment that's been interacted. It's the email and phone number they're going to get an interaction with. Yeah. Which, like you said, though, if there was a way to enhance this further, the mobile app is by far the most important bit to push into, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, again, we kind of knew it was coming, it kind of expecting it to come, but it's nice that it's there, and it is a definite feature that we want to be jumping on straight away. Let's just round up then the other enhancements and bits to bring in, and then we can kind of talk on to our next topic. But they also mentioned that there was new bank integrations. So we now have one new bank that can add, so that's Virgin Money. So yeah, I mean, anyone was waiting for that. That's great news for them. That's fantastic. I'm not sure it was quite an announcement, but that's one of their product announcements. More on that in a minute. They did have an announcement as well that payroll, so the basic payroll has had an enhancement, an upgrade. The payroll overview is now giving you a lot more data, and they're bringing in leave tracking as well. So for me personally, leave tracking was the reason we went to advance quite a lot of the times. So that just means that people can stay on the I keep saying is it basic? I forget what's the lowest version.
Standard version.
Standard, that's the one. Yeah. So the standard payroll, it seems like we can have more people staying on there. And the final, two more announcements. One of them was during one of the sessions, they just showed you some of the enhancements to cash flow. So we've had a few more little features on there, which is nice to see. They've kind of upped the ante. They've added a few more extra bells and whistles to that, which we do like to see. And then the final announcement was MailChimp and how MailChimp is going to be integrating with QuickBooks, or already is integrating with QuickBooks, and it's there. So they were your announcements. The MailChimp one I absolutely love, because for me personally, we're starting to see some great features and great integrations with MailChimp. We've only just started really looking at it and scratching the surface, but we definitely think that's going to be something that not only as a practice we can make the most out of and help and find useful for, but we think from a client's point of view, we're going to definitely start pushing that for them as well. But go on then, let's go through overall those announcements and what you felt for this year's version of QuickBooks Connect. Ash, what do you think?
I thought the Well, I quite enjoyed the whole event. Particularly Stephen Bartlett was very interesting. I've got to say, on the first day, and the it's self-assessment tax return looks pretty good. So that was probably my favourite sort of product thing that I saw coming through.
So you watched the whole of that one, did you? The It's a one.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched everything as much as I could, really. Yeah. So yeah, I was pretty impressed with that. Basically, they're just like filing a VAT return every quarter.
Yeah.
Quite easy.
Jan?
Yeah, I think it was a bit light on announcements, if I'm honest. I'd have liked to see more. Could some of those announcements have been a press release? I know Apple gets a bit of stick every now and then, like, why have you put on a show when you could have announced this on a press release? But yeah, I think adding those things to payroll standard, yeah, that's a press release. Yeah, but what they have announced, I think, especially ones today, are going to have big impacts. Maybe not on your big firms or your medium-sized firms, but your smaller, your one-man bands. If they can start doing more in their QuickBooks, and they've only got QuickBooks clients, this starts to become really efficient and cost-saving, potentially, option for them. It removes barrier to entry for a lot of them. So I think for those guys out there, this is some exciting stuff. And even for the bigger firms, like, we're excited about the workflow possibilities. Like one of my guys' my biggest bug hate, and I keep having to throw things at people for, is they finalize the accounts in Tax Filer and occasionally forget to put closing trial balances back into QuickBooks or Xero, wherever it is. And you think, well, that's never going to be an issue if you're doing it in QuickBooks, is it? Because it posts the closing balances for you and it locks the period for you. And it's those little headaches that actually, for me, makes today's announcements really exciting.
Yeah, without a doubt. And like, again, when you start thinking about the future and you think about what we can start really seeing, how the end game will probably start coming together, we're going to have so much more confidence in that data that we've got than we've ever had, where, you've said it already, the opportunity to bring in the VAT error checker into more kind of global opportunities and bring that sort of idea into more options. I think that's going to be great for people, isn't it? So yeah, you're right. I think it was a little bit light on the ground, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I think, I just feel like, some of those ones, like the month-end review enhancements, I think it's going to be huge. I think that really will change the way we communicate with our clients, change the way we're making it easier on ourselves to get that data for them and go from there. So I'm really happy with it. And I think the MailChimp one is very underutilized at the moment. And I think when we start to get our head around it properly and we understand it, and we get to, when we get to put those videos out properly and all that sort of stuff, I think people are going to see a massive benefit in it going forward. Cool. All right. Let's talk about, though, what they didn't say. I think this one's more of a, we're saying it's a bit light on the ground. Well, that's probably because we were probably expecting a few other announcements coming forward. So the big one that I was definitely expecting, I'm sure you guys were as well, was the QuickBooks Bank and some more news about it and some more information about it. And, at least a bit of a tease of what it's going to look like, or maybe some features to expect. And we heard absolutely nothing. Ash, what's your view on that one?
Yeah, we've been talking about it in past episodes, haven't we, Aaron? And we were talking about it roughly before we kicked off, and those ways of getting your invoices paid sort of immediately, and all the, so instead of having to use a factoring company and getting money in your bank, using the electronic cards through creating your own virtual credit cards. All of that great stuff we were sort of expecting. No, there's none of that. So yeah, surprised we didn't get that, but I don't know.
Yeah, because again, we've just assumed all this, like, from this very podcast. We've just said, oh, it's going to do this. When we found out it was modular and it's kind of very much similar to Revolut, in my mind, I'm just like, right, it's going to be Revolut but in QuickBooks. It obviously won't be, but that's what my expectation is, and that's what I'm trying to kind of look for and trying to see. And yeah, no news is just a bit like, oh, okay, so this is much further out than we thought. Where really, you know,
Do we know it's still Modular that's providing it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because whenever I talk to QuickBooks or Modular, they blame each other and they're very cold about it. I wonder if behind the scenes someone's fallen out somewhere, and that's the reason for the delay, that QuickBooks are having to look at doing it themselves or an alternative provider.
Yeah.
But they need to do something fast. I don't know if you guys have spotted it today, but we've got clients who have had invoices paid by PayPal, and PayPal's billed the clients 2 or 3 times because it said there was an error in the payment process. So we've got like a tier 3 investigation at QuickBooks going on to that at the moment. But a client's clicking pay now on the email, enter the PayPal details, it takes the money but tells them there was an error. So they do it again. So they've got multiple payments. I just think if there's one less third party involved, if it was QuickBooks Bank, QuickBooks would have an easier job to fix the problem, because they can't work out if it's QuickBooks problem or a PayPal problem. So yeah, I just think the sooner it comes, the better. But I wonder if they've gone separate ways or something, and that's the reason for the delay. Because what's it been, 12 months since we first got told about it now? For QuickBooks to delay something by 12 months, that's normally a big problem.
Yeah, definitely. And also, you know, related to the bank thing, we also got announced last year about the fact that we're supposed to have a better payment solution, wasn't it? It was that whole masking your bank details, but being able to have a link and a payment link and going through from there. And payment links kind of appeared in product, then disappeared in product, and it's again.
And
we're just waiting.
Doable. There's third parties out there doing like Cresco and stuff. They're all out doing this stuff. You get your QR code. All QuickBooks needs to do is emblazon that onto your QR code onto the PDF invoice or onto the email itself. Put your camera up to the QR code, and that's it. You'd be paid. But yeah, so the technical side is there. It's doable.
Yeah.
It's just where it sits with priorities.
Yeah, and you know, the more we talked about the bank, the more excited we got about it and everything else. It felt like it should have been a priority, not only just for, you know, buzzwords and trying to get people in and excitement around it all and everything else, but from a practical point of view, from the idea of being able to save taxes and all that sort of stuff, which the promising was coming. And yeah, that's the bit that we're really excited for. And we're telling our clients about it. I'm sure you're the same, and you're a client to get excited, and then all it is a case of, yeah, it's coming, but we just don't know when. So, and it's same with the factoring that was hopefully going to come in with it as well. And we've got some clients who, you know, they could really do with that factoring now. That's a huge thing for them, a huge point that they're kind of waiting on. And yeah, it's a shame because the buzz is there, the hype is there, but we can't do anything with it at the moment.
It's like, yes, there are facilities out there like Monzo and Revolut and Starling that have their spaces, which, yes, we help encourage our clients to use to save for tax. The problem is the link between QuickBooks and Starling and so isn't comprehensive enough for us to see those pots. So as long as a client doesn't add pots and they've told you these are my 3 pots I've got, you know where to transfer money to and from.
Yeah.
But as soon as the client decides to add a new pot, like I've got a client, he's got different pots every bloody month because he puts money there, and he pulls it out and all sorts. If we had that transparency because we've got a QuickBooks bank, life would just be easier. It's one less headache.
Yeah. And the worst thing is, like, that pots issue, you know, the client's doing the right thing. They're saving money for for different subcontractors or whatever it is that they're using those pots for. They're doing exactly what we're telling them to do, and that's making it harder for us. And yeah, it's just a circle that we need to find a way to salute it, find a way to solve it. So yeah, anything else you want to add on that, Ash, in terms of the bank itself? Is it? I just suppose we wait and see, don't we?
No, I can't really add on that. We've just got to sit and wait, haven't we? The only thing that we are still waiting on, I think, is that, you know, the old bank statement auto attachment that we were hoping for, and you'd seen once and then it disappeared. And
was it 4 years ago we got that announced? It was when open banking was first mooted. That's when they first showed it on screen. So that's 4 years ago now, right?
Yeah, and I think most of the banks in Canada, I think after the Canadian QuickBooks event last year, we had Brad Comenis on the show chatting about different things, and they've got that feature in there for most of their. Well, I think it's easier over there because I think they only have like 3 banks, so as opposed to us having goodness knows how many. I suppose if you've got really 3 major banks in the whole country, it's a bit easier talking to the 3 and not everybody else. It's got different systems in the background.
But in fairness, that's what open banking is supposed to prevent, though, isn't it? Because we're all going, like, all the banks now, and all the software is connected through the same routes, and they're going through the same APIs, and they're going through the same, in theory,
Yeah,
we don't know the full thing, but in theory, this sort of thing should be a lot simpler than it was before.
yeah. You're exactly right in theory, but there's I think it's the banks that are just not, all the stuff's there ready. The banks are just not up to speed.
But then why are the Starlings and those ones not? Why is the feature not working on them, which is a much more sophisticated and newer technology? I can understand why NatWest and Barclays and all those ones are probably lagging behind a bit, but yeah, it's strange because also I mean, we must be talking 3, 4, 5 months ago when we showed it on screen on this very podcast about how there was a feature on one of my clients where you could add the bank statement, add the attachment there. That's disappeared as well. So yeah, it's a shame. Speaking of the bank though, and I'm hoping this isn't a something that's kind of related to this, and maybe the reason that they're slowing this down is thankfully we didn't get any news about an updated bank view. So within my last video that I did, or maybe the video before, whenever it was, one of my clients, who's an American client, has got kind of a really obscure view and an obscure way that QuickBooks is looking at the moment in there. And the most confusing aspect of it, and the bit that really starking change, was the fact that their banking is completely different to what we're used to. So you think about what we're used to now, and in fact, let me just quickly put it on screen. We're used to that really, it's ingrained in us now how it works. We go to our banking, our transaction area, and we have nice 3-column approach, don't we? We have for review, categorized, and excluded, and that's how we've been dealing with QuickBooks Online since day one. In their view, though, they've now got an opportunity, or what they see is just 1 column. So very, very similar to how Free Agent and Xero and everyone else looks at it. And then the idea of that 1 column is that you've got your full review, your categorize, and everything else. Also very, very similar to how QuickBooks Self-Employed looks, with that whole idea of it's just 1 column and you go down, go through, tick them off, tick them off, tick them off. So thankfully we didn't get any news about that, but no one's talked about that. Wasn't in any of the QuickBooks Connects. That's just kind of randomly appeared on one of my clients. The scariest bit about that is they get rid of the in QuickBooks and the bank balance as well. That completely disappears. I assume because it's all 1 line, so it should never fall out of kilter. But we know that always falls out of kilter. So yeah, what do you think to that? No news is good news in this case, but isn't it weird that somewhere in the world on some QuickBooks licenses we've got this different banking approach?
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. Basically, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all for change, but sometimes when things like the bank ain't broke, don't try and fix it. It works a treat, especially when you can see your live feed, your actual balance. Yeah, we know that they don't always agree, and that's why we do a bank reconciliation. But if you don't have that many bank entries to work through, and you can just glance at it and think, that's okay, I'll reconcile it at the end of the month. Job's a good one. But if you don't have that, then you probably think, oh, crikey, I better make sure I reconcile this, or go into the bank balance sheet and see what the values are. So, yeah, interesting. Was that a UK client that you saw that on, Aaron, or US?
In fairness, it was an American client, so that's a positive, I suppose. But yeah, it was scary because it made me look daft because there's me going, What's going on here? I have no idea what was going on. Johan, what do you think? While you do that, I'll just quickly show you on screen what I got of the capture.
I like the fact how tidy it is by having uncategorized, excluded, categorized. I like that. I like the tidiness of it. There's nothing going in there to confuse you and mess around. And I also like, and a lot of my clients like that QBO balance versus bank balance. Like I've got clients that will ring us up and say, it's £10 out. Don't get me wrong. I've got clients that have got 50, 60,000 pounds out and they are not bothered. But, it's an insight that I think we should all have is this is relatively accurate, or hang on, something suddenly changed and there's now a huge inaccuracy. Never mind waiting for the monthly reconciling or quarterly reconciling, whatever it may be. I'm going to do it this week because I want to check what that problem is before it causes any bigger problems. Because that could be feeding through to your P&L, it could be feeding through to your balance sheet. It could cause a lot of issues if you're relying on those financial reports and insights.
Yeah,
no, that's why you need to keep that accurate throughout the time. No.
oh yeah.
I mean, you can kind of understand that again, if we put our tinfoils on and we think about what's the future of QuickBooks Self-Employed, because they mentioned nothing about QuickBooks Self-Employed anywhere in today's conference. So we know making tax digital's coming. We know that the features that have already been talked about making tax digital are all focused on QuickBooks Online. So the assumption is QuickBooks Self-Employed probably hasn't got a long lifespan at this point in time. And this looks very similar to QuickBooks Self-Employed. So maybe it's kind of like how do you get halfway house, and maybe you try and convert your QuickBooks Self-Employed clients over to online. I get that. That's my only bit where I can go, right, I can see some logic to this.
I think my understanding is QuickBooks have in the UK have fully understood every accountant's point of view on self-employed and have promised never to mention it to us again. That's my understanding, is they completely and utterly understand accountants hate self-employed. It did a job, whether it was the right job or not, different matter. It was one of those ones they brought it off a shelf, didn't they, and branded it, and it was just a bit of a mistake.
There is a use for it.
Shelf life.
Yeah, there is a use for it, but it's few and far between, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very niche one that you outgrow very quickly.
Exactly. So Ash, what do you think to what you see in front of you now then? Is that a good future or a bad future on
well, without knowing all of the settings and stuff, I mean, it doesn't look great at first glance. I mean, might not be as bad as what we first think, but without playing around with it. But it doesn't look great. Just going back to the self-employed thing, I mean, I've seen sort of people put comments on Facebook, or they've come on to one of the small business training webinars for QuickBooks Online and said, "Oh, QuickBooks Self-Employed was so easy for me to sort of set up and use."
Yeah.
I get that, because there's basically no settings in there. But you've got that is what it is. You've got your categories, and you can't really do much else with it. But like Johan said, from an accountant's point of view, it's bloody awful because it doesn't integrate with any of your accounts production software. There's no audit log. There's no reconciliation. You can't review anything properly. So accounts hate
no balance sheet. I mean, how many
Yeah.
clients have I had to move to QuickBooks online in the last 2 years because they were all went on, "Oh, I don't need a balance sheet. I'd never get a loan. I'd never get in, bounce back loans."
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's got a bounce back loan, and all of a sudden their accounting software cannot handle that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've come across it as well with QuickBooks Self-Employed. If your bank disconnects, that's it. It's gone. Data's gone. That's it. So yeah, definitely flawed. But counterpoint then. So the only, like you're saying there, Ash and Jan, you're saying like the good thing about QuickBooks Self-Employed is the fact that it's simple and straightforward and easy and all that. Like, as a trainer, and like when we're training, probably one of the most critical things we need to explain to people is the fact that, you know, when you do have that, those free options, and then you go into those different pots, that you have to kind of almost force people to understand that just because they've appeared in the full review section doesn't mean they're in QuickBooks. That's the only bit that I can see where clients still today, and we can still train accountants on it, that they still get confused by that idea at the beginning, don't they? So maybe that's the idea, to just try and get rid of that confusion.
Yeah, possibly. But so what you're saying, all of this stuff on here on this screen doesn't actually disappear.
Yeah, you just always see that list. Basically, basically you have a filter solution, and it becomes reviewed or not reviewed on here. And from memory, from looking at the client, I think it goes like maybe it's bold when it's not been reviewed, that sort of idea. And then your idea is you're filtering down between what's there and not. So it's just always just supposed to be the list of what's in your bank account.
Oh yeah, I don't like that. I like that screen to go blank when everything's been dealt with. But, you know, no transactions left.
It's a sense of achievement, isn't it? When you've got you log in for the first time on a new client, 900,000 odd transactions, and you get to the end and the screen's blank. It's like, yeah, done that.
And you get that tick.
Yeah.
This one just did.
Yeah.
Because what happens after, I don't know, 5 years of a client that has 1,000 transactions a month? Like, can you imagine scrolling through that?
Well, I suppose the argument is
you've got your filters,
filters, but yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. I suppose there is that, but yeah. Okay. So thankfully they didn't announce it. I mean, that's the good thing.
Yeah. Anyone from QuickBooks watching today? No.
Okay, so the other thing, and we even had a great part here. I can't remember who mentioned it. Was it Charlie mentioned it? Oh, was it Charlie?
If it was receipt capture, then it's Charlie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there we are. Yeah.
Some improvements.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were all expecting that, weren't we? Or not? Maybe not expecting. I think we were hoping, weren't we, that there was going to be some announcement for receipt capture and mileage tracker as well. You know, these are features that came in the last couple of years, and we're still waiting for them to take that next step. You know, they were released, probably, maybe prematurely, maybe. I don't know if that's a harsh thing to say, but they were definitely released as an opportunity just to get them out there so we can trial them, so we play with them, so we can kind of give feedback to them and everything else. But yeah, we've not seen much more from them yet. So yeah, what do you guys think to that? Is that a good sign? Well, it's not a good sign, is it? But what do you think that means to the future of these products going forward?
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, the receipt capture is a product that is completely free. You know, it was released with no extra £3 a month to your subscription or £2 a month to your subscription. So I think it was aimed at the pretty basic use, and you've got it for nothing. So in some ways, although people do, you know, grumble little bit, they can't really grumble too much because it's not cost you a penny to use. And then, you know, if you do need that extra little something, you know, you've got, you know, hundreds of invoices to scan a month, then you might use one of the, you know, you prefer third-party apps for now. So yeah, well, so I can sit on one hand sort of see, yeah, it'd be nice to have the other bits. On the other, well, it doesn't cost anything.
I mean, they're rolling this out now, aren't they? Pretty much everywhere. I think they're rolling it out in a Middle East country where they've started now. But like, I think potentially, if they're rolling it out to other countries as it is, have they drawn a line under it? Have they decided this is it? This is a basic offering. It, like a lot of features in QuickBooks, is designed to introduce the concept. And then as you outgrow the offering we have, there are our partners such as Dext, Auto Entry, etc., that will do a superior job for you at a cost. But this is our basic offering to introduce the concept. You know, if you're a sole trading, or even if you're one person band business who has a dozen receipts a month, sends 5 or 6 invoices a week out to different people, then actually receipt capture in QuickBooks, it's fine. I wouldn't want my team sat there using it all the time, because we've tried that and we lost far too many hours entering data compared to what the automation of the bigger partners can do with. But for a one-man band, they're using QuickBooks. They're trying to follow best practice and keep receipts and keep images so they don't have boxes of paper. I think it's the solution for them. It's a cost-effective solution. As professionals, is it right for us and our firms? No, probably not. And I suppose the question's got to be then asked, was it ever built for us? Or did QuickBooks have the end user in mind that weren't going to use accountants and bookkeepers necessarily on a daily, monthly, weekly basis? Right. Yeah. I wonder if we need to draw a line under it and accept it is what it is. If you want something more efficient and more advanced, then QuickBooks have got their partners they recommend for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for Ash.
No, I was just agreeing entirely with what Johan said. Yeah, absolutely right.
And maybe there's kind of unfingered agreement at the moment, unwritten agreement between them. They've shook hands and said, look, we're not going to encroach any further on what you've done and everything else to the other partners, and this is what we've got. I think it still needs that little bit, the split feature would just give it that opportunity. The idea as well, the big bugbear of mine for it at the moment is if you go into it and you're attaching a photo or attaching a transaction from something that's already in QuickBooks and you make the adjustment, it then doesn't make the adjustments, if that makes sense. You can say, oh, this was a this was a purchase and it's 20% VAT, but if it's not showing that on QuickBooks already, it will just fall back to what it was before. So they're the little things that I think just needs tweaking, and that's what for me it's just that receipt capture just needs a tweak. It just needs those little bugs or those little issues just to be solved.
The ideal bit for all of us would be if QuickBooks just turned around and said, look guys, this is it, we're going to tweak it, we'll make small user improvements, UI improvements, etc. Great, but this is the product offering. If you want more, go to these guys. If they came out with that statement, I think we'd all go, cool, fair enough. Yeah. Understandable. Let's move on. Rather than sitting here for 3 years hoping for more and being disappointed each year.
I mean, you brought up the Apple comparison, but throughout that conference, I was thinking to myself, is there going to be one more thing? Is that what they're going to do? One more thing, but no.
Nick Williams pops on at 2:00. One more.
Brilliant. All right, fantastic. So so that's kind of the other bits that they didn't say. Let's quickly just go through some other updates between the last time we were there. I know we're kind of running out of time, but let's just make sure we've covered these ones. We think this may be an error or not an error, but a bug that's coming through. But it looks like you Android people out there have had a bit of a different experience to us in the world of accountant, in the world of mobile account QuickBooks Online on the accountant. So if I was to got my Android phone out and I go into QuickBooks Online here, first of all, what I've got to set the thing on. There it is. So when I go into here, I go in my quick action bar along here. You'll see this bit here, this Take Pay Now button just there. So if I click on that, that's that little puck that we saw in America. Now it does look like that's a bit of a shouldn't be there. It seems to be a bit broken, but it does let you go all the way through, and it does give me the chance to get set up and go through and get ourselves that Pay Now button going forward. So who knows? Maybe that's an indication of something to come. That's that QuickBooks is working with. We said this before we went live, but we do think that the Zettel solution is a probably better kind of partnership, a better one to go forward. But this is definitely something to think about. So, what do you think? Do you think that's something that would be worthwhile or not, Ash?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty neat. I might try and have a play around with it because I've got an Android phone. I might try to sort of set it up and see how far I get once I've put all of the information in. Whether how the actual payment mechanism works once it's there.
Yeah. What about you, Johan?
Yeah, I think they've got a better solution in their partner Zettel. I think
Yeah.
Zettel's got some fantastic tools. You've done some great videos on their latest hardware and stuff. I'm a huge fan of Zettel and how simple it makes life. Now, don't get me wrong, if Zettel's card reader had a integration directly into QuickBooks, so they could raise sales receipts and transactions in QuickBooks and pay on the card reader instead of using Zettel software, that'd be great. But I don't see them. I think as you said, it's a bug. I don't see them sacrificing their Zettel partnership for the sake of bringing over a payment puck from America.
Yeah. No, I agree with that one. And also, I don't know if you've seen as well, but on the Apple side of things, you have the opportunity to receive payments, or at least pay as you go or tap and go directly on the phone these days. So, when those sort of functionalities come in, hopefully, again, that's Zettel. Hopefully, they're the ones that kind of partner up with, and that could come in quite well. So, yeah, okay, awesome. Final bit of news as well is a new feature in QuickBooks Online called the option to unfile your VAT return. So while I'm bringing it up on screen, what does everyone's first opinion on this one? Ash, unfiling your VAT return, yay or nay?
I'm still not convinced on this one. I can see it might have its some benefits, but we now know that it's only available to accountants only, which helps. Personally, and if it is only available to an accountant, if you know what you're doing, you shouldn't need the feature in the first place. Would be what I would say. But I guess if you're taking over a file from a client that has pressed the button that they shouldn't have done, and you can unfile it, then I can see the benefit. So if that can happen, they think, oh, I need to click on file, and all the balances have gone to put. But if you can undo it, tidy up those balances, and then get it straight before you start filing through Maker Tax Digital, then probably not such a bad thing. But I wouldn't want to use it too much.
Yeah, no, exactly. Johan, what do you think to it?
Yeah, fairly same opinion on it as Ash. Like, it's good it's protected to accountants only.
Yeah.
But there are times when you need it. So I've spent many a time on the phone to QuickBooks where the client's been marking their returns as filed on QuickBooks, but actually filing them through HMRC's portal before MTD. And they hadn't realised that the dates were out of sync with HMRC. And then when we've tried to make them MTD compatible, we've had to call QuickBooks, unfile some of the returns so that we could bring it in line. So yeah, there's a place for it. If it saves me having to waste QuickBooks time getting them to unfile something, then happy days.
Yeah, because also it's important to note as well, this is for MTD only, non-MTD only filings at the moment. So it's definitely worthwhile. One thing that I definitely couldn't figure out when I first did it, though, is how to even unfile. So I was expecting to see it in these drop-down boxes here as an unfile option. It's not there. You have to jump back into the return. So if you find your return, have a look at it. And if you're an accountant, you'll see your unfile button just over here. And it's going to give me an error message probably as I go through now, because you have to make sure that you do it in order. So you can't go down to the very bottom one and unfile them. Have to make sure that you're on the top version, or the latest filed return when you go forward. So, yeah, I'm more up for this one. I like this. I think it's a good little feature. Again, like Johan said, the last amount of time that you need to be on the phone, the better. And
they've built it in the same way they've built the bank reconciling. In that, if you want to finalize a bank reconciling with a difference, you have to think about it, because the button that's green, which you automatically think click here, is not the button that cancels it. It makes you actively think and choose, I want to process this reconciliation and put an adjustment through.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, so they've built it the right way. They've not made it easy, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, and another use case for it, not only is aligning your periods for MTD, which is a really good use. And also, thinking about maybe if you've got some pre-VAT transactions and you want to try and bring them in and you want to bring them in as exception reports, they're quite good use cases. But we've been playing around with using them for international sales and taxes and everything else, like iOS, one-stop shop ones, and having the opportunity to go in and change these around. That's going to be useful to us as well and unfile them, because it's a bit of a wild west at the moment of how we're kind of dealing with them. So I like it. I think it's a good one. I know there was a bit of kind of fanfare around it to begin with, but I think now we've started to learn about it a bit more. I think everyone's kind of understanding that it is, it's a useful feature to have, to go through.
Maybe one that should have been released today with some explanation rather than a small press release that didn't explain it.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even a press release, was it?
It wasn't. It was just a button appeared.
Yeah, I think there was one social post I saw. I think that was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Exactly. There was no, and maybe this is why, maybe bringing back that spring summer thing is where this becomes really useful, doesn't it? Because that just highlighted everything to us, and also gave us content for this podcast as well. So it'll be useful to know. Final bit of news.
We better wrap it up in a sec, Aaron. I think we've got a couple of questions from Marion.
Go for it.
We'll try and answer them.
It's on
What
screen.
should I do if I can't connect with HMRC for the VAT return? Who wants to answer that?
Well, it's basically what we've been saying. We assume, it is MTD now, isn't it? So with the MTD element of it, we need to make sure that's turned on. And one of the biggest problems we've had is the fact that your next period isn't actually showing correctly here. That's been our biggest bugbear that we've had with the way MTD is implemented and the way that it's kind of working through. So it's already turned on. That's great to hear. So most of the time that's going to be a problem for you is the fact that it's just not picking up those right dates. So you kind of have to
just make sure you've logged into your HMRC account first before that, and actually signed up for Making Tax Digital with HMRC. You should have been prompted to do that within QuickBooks itself. It usually says, have you signed up for Making Tax Digital? If you haven't done it properly with HMRC, you'll need to turn that feature off, log into your HMRC account, go through the process. You'll get emails from HMRC confirming that you're ready, and then you'd be able to sort of get it sorted.
I can't remember where the
it's asking you for an agent account. If you've got if you're logged in as an accountant, that means you should be an agent. So if you see accountant at the top left hand corner of your QuickBooks account, it means you've got an accountant account, which means you should be an accountant or a bookkeeper. If you're not an accountant or a bookkeeper, you shouldn't have that type of account. So you might need to talk to somebody else or have a chat with someone at QuickBooks. You might be on the wrong subscription.
Yeah, because I'm saying here as well, do I need an accountant? No, you don't need an accountant. So nice one.
Question for you though, just because it's been a bugbear of mine. In the last month, I've registered a few new clients for VAT. Am I the only one that thinks by this point in the process they should automatically at the time of registration be MTD compatible?
Yeah,
definitely. I'm still having to register them, get the VAT details through, then apply for them to be MTD ready, and then surely by this point in time, we're that close to the deadline. All registrations should automatically be MTD ready.
100%. I suppose the only thing about it is it's a little bit easier to get a 648 in place when they're not MTD, isn't it? Marginal, but that's about it. That's like your only benefit, isn't it?
But when they're MTD ready, you can just apply for agent authorization through a link through an email.
But then they've got but they've got to have their account set up and all that, don't they? So that's the only thing I can think of that's a benefit. But it's not. It's definitely not. That's not worthwhile benefit to not be MTD by a long way. And it's just causing confusion, like you already said, hasn't it? Like it's just people are there, they're thinking to themselves, why, what do you mean? I've just registered VAT. I must be MTD registered and all this and the other. So
maybe they turn it on next month on the 1st of April.
Yeah, maybe, but
Doubt it.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're going off tangent for the, and I'm sorry for this one, but we only found out literally like 3 months ago about the fact that the agent services account view and the way to find your agent services account is different to the one that we've been using since day one. You know, the HMRC portal, and that's just crazy. That's just HMRC in a nutshell, isn't it? We've been moaning that we weren't able to get access to periods and stuff ourselves and all this and the other, and that's because we weren't going to the right URL. So anyway, I got off my soapbox now. Final little bit then, just as a bit of congratulations. A county manager turns 5 today, so we want to give a congratulations to those guys. They definitely know how to connect to QuickBooks. Their actual integration's getting better and better as we go along. So yeah, those guys are pretty brilliant. And apparently there's a nice little update from NetTracker, isn't there, Ash?
There is. I'll just squeeze this one in. Should be released tomorrow, so there'll be the option to track and reconcile your prepayments, your accruals, your deferred income, your accrued income, and lovely statements. All the journals will happen automatically if you've got it set up in there. So hopefully it should get released tomorrow. I'll probably try and get a video or two done tomorrow on it if I can.
You know,
There's a webinar next week. I've got a webinar. There's a webinar on it next week as well.
Nice. Looking forward to that one. Excellent. All right. Big thank you to Johan for coming along and giving us your expertise. And again, congratulations for getting your shout out on QuickBooks Connect today. Basically just left for us to just say a big thank you to everyone who's listening, everyone who will be listening in the future. Remember, if you are listening by podcast or later in the day, don't forget to follow us on Facebook or any of the other social channels to make sure that you can join us live for a future event. That way you can ask your questions live, get them answered, and go from there. So Ash, I know we didn't talk about this before, but when are we back?
We should be back on Wednesday, the 6th of April. We do have advanced certification. Well, I'm on the course, finishes at 4:30. In fact, so I should be able to jump straight in at 4:30 when it finishes.
Okay, awesome. We might push it back a little bit, or we might push it back to the week after. We will decide. But again, keep an eye on those social channels, and we'll let you know. So thank you again, Johan. Thank you, Ash. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you.
Hopefully next week we can maybe get some more news about what's happened. Maybe there'll be a few press releases here and there of the stuff that they didn't talk about. So we will see. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon, and we will see you soon. Cheers up. Bye.